In our quest, though, to try and understand how out-of-home actually was working, two themes started to emerge. So within the data bank and within our cells that we were looking at, first of all, we started to see that there was a number of big brands with big budgets who were using out-of-home and TV as the core part to their media mix. But then on the opposite end of the scale, we actually discovered that there were a number of challenger brands with smaller budgets who were actually using out-of-home as a substitute for TV. And I think those particular brands, obviously they have less media pounds at their disposal. So what we found is that they were tending to use digital and out-of-home in combination as their kind of core media channels, with out-of-home's role specifically there to try and boost the visibility of the campaign. So from our perspective, the differing uses of these media tactics really gave us an opportunity to actually understand how specifically out-of-home is working differently with different media channels. So the first thing that kind of Peter found when he was looking at how out-of-home is working with TV was the fact that it's actually helping to influence a number of key brand metrics. So actually, for those brands that are using out-of-home power users, they're actually seeing these uplifts to their TV brand effects of fame and esteem being the core ones, obviously a significant 72 and 64% uplift. And I think what the research found was that it really kind of screamed out that if you're looking for your brand to be famous, then out-of-home and TV working in combination are the two best channels to deliver this. But then we contrasted this to how out-of-home was actually working with social. So unlike with TV, where we didn't see any real uplift in awareness, that isn't the case with social. So first and foremost, actually the use of out-of-home is actually helping to boost awareness of paid social activity. Then those core strengths of out-of-home again are coming to the fore, helping to drive fame and esteem. So again, that brand quality. But I think what we really found now was that it was actually the stature of out-of-home that social appeared to benefit the most from. What was really interesting was to see the effects that out-of-home had on brand trust when it was being used with and to support social media. I think from our perspective, one of the things that we took out of this was that the public nature and the stature of the out-of-home medium was helping to actually drive credibility and trust in a way that social can't achieve in its own right. So having looked at those brand effects, we also wanted to see how these uplifts correlated to those hard business metrics that we've talked about throughout. And again, first of all, if we look at TV, so as we've seen on countless kind of occasions previously and in different studies, that power of brand fame is incredibly important to drive significant long-term business effects. So again, the combination of TV and out-of-home working together to drive brand fame, it was of no real surprise to see a significant boost to the business effects of television, specifically around those kind of key business growth areas of customer acquisition, profit and market share. Now, out-of-home is still working in the same way with social, again, to boost that market share metric. Now, as you can see, obviously that's a significantly higher result than with TV, but this can be explained by the fact that going back to the study and the data bank that we're using, the power users, the out-of-home power users that are working with social tend to be smaller brands and therefore they have more growth potential. So it's far easier to obviously deliver a 170% uplift in a market share of, say, 2% market share than it would be with a bigger brand with 15% share. So that's one of the reasons why we see such a significant uplift with social. That's not to diminish the power of the results, but it is the reason behind it. The other thing, though, that I think was really then interesting, so far we're seeing similarities between how out-of-home is working with both channels, but next we see that actually the business effects that out-of-home is helping to influence with social is actually price sensitivity and customer loyalty. And that's obviously very, very different to how it's working with out-of-home, with TV. And I think really for us, it was the collection of all of this data together that was the really interesting part, because actually what it points to is that out-of-home is an incredibly versatile channel. Janin mentioned this at the start in her introduction, but it's actually almost unique in the sense of all media channels, in the fact that it has the ability to drive brand, it has the ability to do sales activation, but we can see here that it is working with all media channels, but in very, very different ways. And I think it's that versatility of out of home that is so intriguing.